I thought I'd go through a little bit of how to do the car loan case study. And just really quick, I found a car over here. I thought it was great. I have no idea what I was looking at. You'll notice that it doesn't paste in this here, so you'll have to select somewhere outside of this text box to have it paste, and then just move your picture over into this space. All right, and then give us the information that you found, how much it was, and how many miles, make, model. As soon as you enter this in, it should be Ford. It shouldn't take too long. And as soon as you enter this in, it'll give you a thumbs up as correct cells on the How Did I Do page. The next part will be filling in the rest of this and down here. So the loan, it gives you some options over here. I'm going to go ahead and do a 5-year loan for 3.52. So I'm going to do 3.52, and down here, please make sure that you pick either one of these, or that you can also go ahead and find what your actual savings interest rate is at your own bank. In this case, I'm going to go with a savings of 1.2% just because it was given to me as an option for calculating, and I think that's about it on number 2. So number 3, sales tax. When you're doing this for your own sake, oh, I'm sorry, that's hiding this. When you're doing this for your own, you can go back and do a different sales tax. However, on the How Did I Do, it's only going to work with the 6%. So I'm going to calculate how much sales tax by clicking in the cell and do equals 0.06 for the sales tax times the vehicle sale, and that'll give me the sales tax. The down payment, you can pick whatever you would like, or if in the future you want to use this spreadsheet for something, if your bank does 100% financing, you can go ahead and do that as 0. I'm going to say that we put in, let's do $250, which to find the loan amount, you're going to take what the total is and the vehicle sales, add the sales tax, and subtract the down payment, and that will be your total loan, because this is the entire amount for the vehicle. The sales tax is also added on to that total, and the down payment would be something that comes off of that total. And so we need a loan for $5,029. The APR, oh, now that we've come over here, I'll bring back my picture. Your APR should match what you picked in number 2. So we're going to come down here, and I got 3.52. So I'll type that in, 3.52% for the APR. This one now is asking for the loan in terms of months. I did a 5-year loan, so I need this to calculate 5 times 12, because it's going to be 12 months for every year, and that gives me 60 total months. The monthly payment is something you're going to have to calculate by typing in PMT and following the prompts of what the inputs are for calculating. I need this rate of 3.52, but don't forget this is monthly, so divide by 12, comma, the number of periods, or N per. I can calculate this, or actually it's right here for me, the loan in terms of months. I have 60 months to make this payment. The present value for the loan will be the total loan amount right here. Now I can type in 0 for the future value, and the type as well, it tells me either it's going to be at the beginning or the end of the month. I'm going to just leave those blank. I can close the parenthesis, I can just leave it. Excel has enough to calculate. I did miss one thing here. The future value, this is a loan, so I'm going to put a negative there so that I have my monthly payment as 91.55. and that's also prompted for you in your hint over here on the side. The total amount of payments will be how many times you're going to be making this. So I have my monthly payment here is $91. I'm going to cell reference this and times this by, I can times it by year and then by month, or since I know that I have 60 months, I can just cell reference. And that's how many total payments I will be making towards this car. The next thing will be how much interest I end up paying. You'll notice that the loan amount was $5,029, but I end up paying $5,492. So the total interest will be the difference between these, how much I end up paying versus how much I got my loan for. That tells me I paid $462 in interest towards the bank that just paid the bank. So the next thing we need to fill in over here is how much I paid. So the total payments here, that's how much I'm going to be paying. But don't forget, I also paid a down payment. So I'm going to calculate equals the down payment, add my total payments here, press enter, and that's how much I paid towards the car. Now, how much the car cost, that will be the vehicle sale, the sales price plus the sales tax, which I can do here, this plus the sales tax, and that's how much the car cost overall. So here, the wasted money, or the money that I paid out that doesn't help me at all, is the cost, what I paid, subtract the cost of the car, and that tells me how much money I didn't, that just goes towards the bank. All right, let's move on to the amortization schedule. Over here, the beginning balance is what my loan started out as here, and I'm going to press enter because that's all I needed. Then my interest, that is how much interest is being accumulated from this balance on month 1. So I need to equal the balance times my interest, which I'm just going to cell reference up here. And because I'm going to be clicking and dragging for the rest of my amortization schedule, I want that to always be the cell that it references. So if you have a PC, press F4. If you have a Mac, press Function F4, and that gives you the absolute cell reference with the $signs here. And don't forget that that needs to be divided by 12 because it's monthly. There we go. So that's how much money from this month is accumulating in that amount of interest. Now to find the amount that we pay for principal is I take the monthly payment, so equals this monthly payment, and subtract how much goes towards interest, and that will tell me how much money is going towards the principal to bring down my balance. And you'll notice that I'm going to leave that there, and because I anticipate somebody making some of these mistakes, and I'll go back and show you how to troubleshoot some things. The ending balance, I'm going to put equals. This will be how much the beginning balance I started out with, and I get to subtract how much went towards the principal for my ending balance of that month. Now down here, I need to cell reference my new beginning balance, which was the ending balance from the previous month. And you'll notice I'm not going to absolute cell reference this because as I click and drag, I want this ending balance to continue to decrease. So I need it to move with me. So don't absolute cell reference that one. Now this one, I cell referenced up here. It doesn't need to be absolute because I'm not going to click and drag that. This one was good. It's going to cell reference up to the previous month. This interest rate, it looks good, that equation, but I'm going to click and just drag once just to see. Yep, it looks like it's correctly calculating things. I can double click in here. I'm absolute cell referencing in the APR. I'm dividing by 12. I'm referencing the beginning balance. If I click outside of here now to try and get out, it'll cell reference something else. So to get rid of getting out of that, just press enter or return. Here, I'm going to click and drag to check on this one. Now, that doesn't seem to make sense, right? And I almost fixed that, but I wanted to see this because I anticipate some people accidentally not making an absolute cell reference on some of these. So for troubleshoot, I'm going to click in here and you'll notice that it moved to total payments instead of the monthly payment. So I'm going to get out of there and come back here and fix this one by highlighting this, because that's the only thing I want to be the absolute cell reference, and press F4 or function F4 for Mac users and press enter. And now if I click and drag this formula, whoops, cancel. Now if I click and drag this, that looks much better. I can get a little bit more going towards my principal because a little less went towards interest, which is exactly what the loan should be doing. Now I'm going to click and drag this. Hopefully that, yep, it's subtracting my how much was going towards the principal from the beginning balance of that month. Now this entire row is correct and it's cell referencing everything. I can highlight this and drag it down to the end of my loan. The reason I can't click and drag this one is because my beginning balance isn't referencing a previous month like this one is. So that's just a little kind of a trick here. Now I can just click this whole thing and go down. I would have to fix the formula over here by saying equals the previous month and add 1, like explained in the interactive textbook demo. There's a bunch of different ways to get this one to work. I can do equals this month plus 1, the previous cell, and then I can click and drag this all the way down. Another way I can do that is just highlight a couple of these cells here, and Microsoft Excel can see some of these small patterns or equations, these functions, and you'll notice it just fills it in for me. If I only highlight this 5, it'll fill them all in as 5. So make sure you highlight a few. It doesn't matter how many as long as it's showing the pattern of adding 1, and you can click and drag that down. Now I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way down to 60 because I did a 5-year loan, which gives me 60 months. Now the reason I did the month here is that I can come over and now this whole row is correct. I can click and drag or go to the bottom of whatever you are and get the crosshairs and double click, and it'll go all the way down to 60 by itself, which is convenient if you have a really long loan, like the home loan that goes out to 360 months because it's a 30-year loan. Now because I've cell-referenced everything, instead of typing in, which rounds it just slightly, you'll notice it goes all the way down to a 0. Out of curiosity, just because, and you'll notice, don't worry about these green arrows, it's just saying that other cells here have been locked and yours aren't locked, and so it doesn't follow the same pattern that you've seen. Don't worry about that because we're not locking it. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to come over to interest and find the total interest by doing an auto sum, and just come up here 462.96 and just compare 462.96. That was another way that you can kind of see that the total interest is all going to match and kind of double check yourself. Again, I can also show how much went towards principal. Oops, that's going to calculate something for me. I want to find auto sum here, add all of those together, and also don't forget that I also paid over here and the small down payment I made. Just out of curiosity, if I were to add those together, this plus my down payment here, let's just see, $5,742.82. $5,042.82. That was just kind of a nice little way to see that it's going to be the exact same. You do not have to do that. It was just out of curiosity. Some of you might want to do that just because. Okay, now let's move to number 4. This one is the savings side. We're going to fill it in just like we did on the other one. The sales price, instead of just typing it in, I'm going to be lazy and cell reference here and press enter, and you'll see it still says that it's correct on the how did you do. As a quick hint or tip on some of these, there's a few down here that will continue to say error until you've filled in over here. Just because it's referencing something over there. Don't worry about that. Just get them all filled in first. So maybe spread out your checking into the how did you do until you've done a few things, and then go back in and see if you can troubleshoot just like we did over here. Next is sales tax. Again, just to stay consistent, we're going to keep it at 6%. After you've filled this in, if you live in a state where your sales tax is higher or lower, go ahead and fill this in for future reference. But for now, we're going to do the 6%, 0.06, and times it by the vehicle, and the purchase amount will be those added together. So the sales price plus the sales tax. And then I'm going to stay consistent with the down payment and the previous saved. So I'm going to do the $250 we did before, just like I did with the down payment. And the APR, again, keep the same thing just so that we can kind of make a good comparison between loan and savings. And if we use the same numbers, then we can see how different it is to get a loan and pay versus your savings. So here, the APR, I'm gonna cell reference this again. The APR will be for the savings amount. I'm gonna cell reference down there. I think it's okay. Yep, it's still counted that as correct instead of just typing it in. The savings term in terms of month, again, we're going to stay consistent, same as the loan terms, and I'm going to be lazy and cell reference so I don't type it in. And then monthly payment, again, we're going to calculate this PMT, the rate. This one I can't cell reference over here. I have to type it in because I have a different APR. Again, always divide this by 12, or because I'm making monthly payments. The number of periods, or the months here, will be 5 years, 12 months, or 60. My present value, this one's a little different because my present value in my savings account is my previous saved here, and the future value is what I want the purchase amount to be. Now I'm not there yet, so I need to make sure that that's a negative future value. And I can do the type, keep it the same as what we did on the other one, and press enter, and my monthly payment will be $81.13. The total amount of payments will be how often I paid this, and I need to multiply that by, how many months I'm paying towards that, and that gives me my total amount of payments. Now I'm going to do this last one a little different than what's given as the instructions here. I'm just going to calculate it. I think it says to calculate this by doing your amortization first. I'm going to go ahead and just calculate it. You can do it both ways, or whichever way you prefer. The total interest will be how much my ending amount will be minus how much I put into, which I found here actually, which is the total amount of payments, which is the monthly times 60. I'm going to just do the month, how much I put into it. But don't forget, I also put in a little bit of the previous saved, which ends up being $161. You'll notice when I come in here, because I didn't do it the way it asked, it's saying that it's wrong. It's actually right. And as soon as I do a little bit over here, it'll start calculating it correctly according to the formulas that the course development has put in there. Okay, so how much I paid. This is going to be my total payments, and I'm going to add in what I started with as well, and that is the total amount that I put into my savings account, how much I get. Now, the next thing is how much the car cost, which is the purchase price here, and press enter. And this is how much money I earned, which will be how much the car cost, subtract how much I put into it, and they match here, how much total interest and how much money I earned. So if we wanted to look at the difference between these two, I actually earned an extra $161 versus over here I lost $462. So the difference between the two actually ends up being $620 something difference between the loan side and the savings side. Kind of food for thought. The next thing over here would be to do the amortization of the saving. Oh, I promised I would show you that once we did some of the calculations over here, this was able to understand that I did it correctly. If you'd like to hold off on that because you like to see that it's correct, then we can go through this and you'll see how to do that as well. The beginning balance will be how much I start out with, which is my previous amount saved. The interest earned, I am going to be earning the 1.2 divided by 12, and I'm going to be multiplying that to the balance in my bank account, just like we did over on the loan side. And the payment I'm going to be putting towards it is $81.13. And again, I want that to always reference that monthly payment there. So I'm going to do F4 or function F4 for those Mac users. And my ending balance is all of that added together. So I'm going to do auto sum here. Oh, and it's adding in that monthly right there, so, or the month, and I don't want that. So we'll just fix it by left clicking here and highlighting just these three. Okay, so that tells me my ending balance, which now changes the beginning balance for the next month, just like on our loan amortization schedule. So I'm going to come over here and reference this one. And just like I did on the loan, these ones should be good. So I'm going to highlight these and pull them down and double check. Oh, this one is not. So again, don't get nervous. All we have to do is fix the formula here because I didn't earn a quarter of interest and then $1,000 of interest. So we're going to come up here, and I notice that I did not absolute cell reference this one. So I'm going to just highlight it and say I just want that one absolute cell referenced. Press enter and then just redrag this cell. That makes a lot more sense. Now I can see all of these are correct. I can just highlight this row and see if I'm good. Everything looks like it's calculating correctly. My previous cell, my payment is good. The interest looks right. Again, I can do my quick trick to get it all the way down to 60 without doing a formula there. If you would like to, you can go ahead and do the formula, which is add the cell above to a 1. But now that it's all right, I can highlight this and double click it and it'll go all the way down to the bottom. And this should perfectly match what I need for to put towards the car. 5,279. Come up here and just double check 5,279. It matches perfectly because we did some cell referencing. If I were to have done this all by hand, because I'm not doing the exact cell, it might be off by a little bit. Again, just out of curiosity, I'm going to come down here, and again, this is not required. It's just to show you. I want to see how much we earned in interest here. 161.87, which matches my total interest in the money I earned. And the payment here, let's do an auto sum feature here. 4,876, 4,870 or 67. I'm sorry, that's what I meant. And then the last thing is I can find out how much. I can add these together, how much I put into the car. Oh, and plus the original, or my 250. So I'm going to add this cell up here, and you're going to say, why didn't you just type 250? I could have, but if I want to go back and change this for a future car, I can just change this cell up here to whatever I decide or whatever I have to make it more real life. And if I want to keep this down here, it would continue to calculate with whatever that cell is. And 5,279, those match beautifully. Everything looks like it's working correct. Don't forget to put in your picture. That's a silly point to miss. And let's just double check our how did you do. And it looks like everything's up and going. Good luck on your vehicle loan project.